gonna say I love a little podcast banter.
Well, I was gonna say it's cute to have like that like intro
Yeah.
banter. So maybe we'll have a little.
Okay, this is our banter.
Hello, welcome to Hot Cakes, our podcast about unpopular crafting opinions. I am Jules from Juliette Pécaut Designs.
I'm Sara from Boston Fiber Company.
And we're just doing a little podcast here to tell you all about our hot takes in the yarn and fiber industry.
And some other silly ones.
And some other silly ones, because we just have a lot of opinions and we thought we should share them with the world.
Yeah. The people need to know.
The people need to know. So I am, as we're a fiber podcast, we have to tell you what we are working on and what we're wearing. So right now I am working on a pair of socks. You can see the heel there if you're watching on the YouTube. In the Garthenor Snowdonia sock. Garthenor is a Welsh company that makes climate positive yarns, carbon neutral, climate positive yarns. And I love their Snowdonia sock for socks. So that's what I'm working on. What are you working on?
I am working on a cottage core crop. I am doing it in the round versus the cardigan version because I don't want to pro. And I am doing it in East Coast Salem colorway from the Fiber Witch Festival last year.
Yes.
In April.
Very fun.
Yeah.
Very, very cute.
And a local yarn company.
Yes, East Coast Yarn is run by a friend of the show, Kristen.
Yeah.
And she just makes really cool yarn. So that's exciting.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And then I am wearing my own design. I'm a knitwear designer, if you don't already know. This is my Hometown Harbor. It's my most recent design. It's unspun yarn, so it's the Woolentwine Thrive yarn held with a mohair from Knitting for Olive. What is their mohair called? Is it just called mohair? Silk mohair?
Yeah, silk mohair. Something like that.
Yeah, just a little raglan, little double folded turtleneck, super long ribbed cuffs. Very, very cozy for the current weather, which is like 15 degrees. Yeah. So what are you wearing?
Yeah. I am wearing Simply the Vest, which is also a Jules design.
Also my design.
It is, and I was inspired to wear it as a shirt versus as a vest, which has been really nice. It's opened up a new world for me. It is in the Moondrake brushed cashmere, and I'm holding it double with a yarn that our in-house dyer McKenna of Honey and Quill dyed for us on some yarn we just got for free. So I don't even know what it is.
Wow, nice.
It's love merino that. And something.
Love that. Yeah, I love wearing a vest as a tank top. Yeah. It really opens up your possibilities.
It really does.
You can wear your vests all year.
Yeah, big fan.
So yeah, do we want to get into our hot take?
Yeah. Well, do you want to talk a little bit about
yes,
the goal of the podcast?
Yes. What are the goals of the podcast, Sara?
So our goal is we're going to share a hot take, discuss the hot take. So, yeah.
It's a way to be a little more nuanced than you can get on social media.
Yeah.
Because you can't necessarily really elaborate on all these hot takes.
Yeah. We're going to say something that'll ruffle feathers, and then we're going to just explain why.
But we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. Why it's our hot take. Yeah.
Yes, we are capable of nuance. It's not all black and white. So yes, it's just going to be a fun way to get more in depth on the topics that are kind of rocking the fiber world right now, I think. And if you have a hot take, you can email us at
it's hotcakespod@gmail.com. We'll put the
link in the show notes.
Yeah.
We'll put all the links in the show notes.
Yeah, and all of our social media
and all of that will be there. But yes, you can email us at hotcakescraftpod@gmail.com. If you have a hot take, we would love to hear your hot takes, and we'll discuss them on the show.
Literally any hot take you have.
Literally any hot take.
Yeah.
Specifically fiber hot takes for the long discussion, but we also just want to hear your mundane hot takes about anything. So yeah, send those in to the show.
Perfect. Do you want to get started?
Yes.
Yes. So tell me your hot take.
So today's hot take is that having a giant yarn stash sucks.
Yeah.
I hate a giant yarn stash. I hate having too much yarn. To me personally, it's stressful. And it makes me really uncomfortable and I hate it. But then also just in the grand scheme of things, you know, we have a huge problem with overconsumption in our society, and yarn can be a part of that. And I think there's a lot of people joke about having like more yarn than they could ever use in their lifetime. Like there's the acronym SABLE, which is Stash Acquisition Beyond Life Expectancy.
Yeah.
And I don't love that, because I think it just contributes to overconsumption in society, and I don't like that. It's not good for the environment. It's not good for the people. So that's my hot take.
Okay.
Big yarn stash is bad. Let's discuss.
Yeah. So I would say, in general, I agree. As a person with multiple stashes,
as a person who owns a yarn store.
Yeah, as a person with a yarn stash beyond my own yarn stash, I do agree. I think that buying yarn to just have isn't good for the yarn or for anybody. That yarn wants to be something.
Yes.
But also as a person who loves to travel yarn shop, that's hard.
Yes.
And so, like, how do you balance wanting to support small businesses?
Yes. Yes, there's absolutely a balance, I think, because I do also sometimes, I like to souvenir yarn shop as well when I visit new places. I like to buy a skein of yarn. And I always tell myself, like, oh, I'll just buy sock yarn and then I'll knit socks, because I can always knit socks.
Yeah,
I'm knitting
that's
socks
what I
now.
tell myself too.
But I have like, I don't know, 20 skeins of sock yarn right now, and I don't have time to knit 20 pairs of socks, you know, before I take my next trip. So for me, I try to, when I'm traveling, I like to visit yarn shops, but you don't necessarily always have to buy yarn at yarn shops is one thing. But also, even if you do buy yarn, I think it's okay. I don't think the kind of like having a big stash to me doesn't mean like, or not having a big stash to me doesn't mean not shopping at the independent yarn shops that you visit in a new city. For me, that isn't really overconsumption. That feels like a normal amount of healthy consumption, especially if you're buying from a local shop. You're supporting the local economy. You're probably supporting an indie dyer or a local farm or something like that. And also having those like souvenir skeins of yarn is so different from just having like boxes and boxes of yarn in your basement that you don't even like necessarily remember that you have. There's a huge difference, I think. And so having lovely, beautiful yarn that you've bought on vacation or something, or even from your own local shop, you know, yarn is beautiful. Yarn is great. Like, you can display it on your walls.
Pretty.
You can have it in a basket next to your couch, and you can just like touch it. There's a lot of joy to be had just in owning yarn. And so I don't want to knock anybody for doing that. I do that. I think you do that.
Yeah, I absolutely do that.
That's absolutely valid. I think the problem occurs when you just accumulate tons and tons of yarn and it's locked away in boxes in the back of a closet. It never gets seen. It's never getting used, but you can't even like see it to appreciate it, to remember the good memories you had when you bought it, or even to use it for inspiration. Like, I like to have my yarn visible so that I can be constantly inspired by it. So that's my take.
I guess we should talk too a little bit about, like, sometimes I think especially when we talk about like these large stashes of yarn, we're also specifically talking about like large stashes of acrylic yarn, which doesn't, you know, your wool is from a sheep.
Wool is a renewable resource.
Yes.
The sheep will grow more wool. And especially in the US, the wool industry is really struggling. And so it is really important to support domestic wool production. And one of the ways you can do that is by buying their yarn.
Yeah.
But yeah, synthetic fibers are a whole other story because when you overconsume synthetic fibers, you're also contributing to an environmental problem because acrylics, nylons, polyesters, those are all made of plastic.
Yeah.
All made of, derived from fossil fuels. Not great for the environment, both in their production and at the end of their use. They don't decompose like wool does. Wool is biodegradable. And if it's like untreated wool, you can literally just throw it in your compost bin.
Yeah.
You can't do that with acrylic. And even some semi-synthetics like bamboo, the production is pretty bad for the environment, pretty intense with toxic chemicals and just general waste.
Yeah.
So that's not great. Not to say you shouldn't use acrylics if that's what works best for you, because of course the best yarn, the most sustainable yarn is going to be the yarn that you use. And the yarn that you wear. So if that's what works best for you, by all means, go ahead and use it. But having like a huge stash of it stuck in a closet somewhere is not really great for the environment. Or for the people who are producing that yarn. That's the other thing is we forget that that yarn has to come from somewhere, right? People are making it, and it's not a good process. It's not a healthy. It's not a healthy process. So use what you will use, but you don't have to have more than you will ever use in your lifetime.
Yeah.
You don't need sable.
Yeah, you don't need sable.
Is my take on that. I also think for me personally, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I very much believe that my physical space reflects my brain space, my mental space. So if I have a ton of clutter, I can't get anything done. And so I try to keep my office very neat. I work from home. I'm a knitwear designer. So of course I am surrounded by yarn.
Yeah.
But it's all yarn that I have a plan for. I know what I'm doing with it. And it also reduces decision fatigue because I know what I'm doing with everything and I have a plan for it. I know when I'm going to likely knit with it. So it just helps sort of clear that brain space.
Yeah.
And I do like to leave room, obviously, for spontaneity, to have fun and do something sort of spur of the moment. I do love a random cast on, but I try to keep that to a minimum because before I had like a plan, for all my yarn, I would buy too much yarn. I would overconsume. And I wouldn't know what to do with it. And then I'd cast on, spontaneously. And then all of the projects that I really wanted to get done never ended up getting done because I didn't have the time to do them. And so for me, having a small stash helps me kind of keep my mind clear and keep me more focused on my goal of, which my ultimate goal is to create, a wardrobe that I love, that I wear. So for me, having a small stash is working towards that goal much better than having too big of a stash.
Yeah, I mean, I've accidentally pared down my stash with a yarn, like a moth infestation.
Oh no!
A couple years ago now, and so that helped. I have a much smaller stash now because of that. I also
that's another good reason to keep a small stash because then
moths
you don't lose as much.
And I personally don't like acrylic. I don't think there's anything wrong with acrylic if that's like easiest for you. I have like a slight wool allergy that's gotten better since I've like owned a yarn store, but I used to only use acrylic because I didn't know how to knit with cotton and stuff like that. So that made a lot more sense, or like an acrylic blend type thing. And now I don't, but I do have things with like nylon. This yarn has nylon in it, so it's hard to escape the plastics.
Yes. And superwash wool.
Yeah,
is also has plastics in it. But
and I was going somewhere with this. No, I can't remember. Oh, so was inspired. So this kind of discussion was inspired by your controversial post last year that had like a lot of reactions to it, and then I kind of like, you know, like your immediate reaction is like, well, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't know my life. You don't know me.
Yeah.
Except you do know me, and I also was like, I was like sat with it for a little bit, and I was like, you know what, this is right. Like, I have yarn that I just bought because I went to a yarn store, and it was the yarn that they had from like a local person, so I bought like 4 skeins of it to support them, which is great. But now like I don't know what to do with it, and like I just have like 4 random skeins of yarn, and so I went through my stash, organized everything by project. And then pulled some yarn that I was like, I will find a project for this. There's some yarn that like I don't want to give away. But then I just did a big stash bust, like literally just texted friends and asked them what they wanted. Like, didn't you get some yarn?
I did. I got some yarn out of that actually.
So like,
and I've already knit with it, so I don't feel bad.
Nice. I do have one more skein of the Moondrake brushed cashmere in this. Ooh. So if anybody wants it, it is up for grabs.
It is nice too.
It is so nice. I really like it, but I don't know what I'm gonna do with one skein. So if nobody buys it, I'll find something.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another good point is, well, yeah, so first of all, I posted on Instagram last year, and I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But people got really mad.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what I said specifically. I think I said, it was just a video of me knitting, and then text over it. I think I just said, hot take, having a giant yarn stash is unnecessary.
Yeah, or it's like not a flex or something.
Yeah, something like that. And people got really, really mad. I had at this point I have like 170,000 views on it. I got like over 200 comments that I was like, I normally get like 3 or 4 comments on a post. So that was crazy. But people really got in their feelings about it. And I do think, your knee-jerk reaction is like, hey, screw you, like, don't tell me what to do. And I totally get that. And I also want to reiterate that I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just giving my own opinion. People are free to do whatever they want. It's with your hobby, with your yarn stash. For me, I think the goal, I guess, of that post, and it worked on you.
Yeah, it worked on me.
To have people think about it.
Yeah.
That's really the thing for me, is just if you're just mindlessly over consuming, that's a problem. Like, that's not good. It's not good for you. It's not good for your community. It's not good for society in general. So really the intention behind that post, and also this podcast, is to just sort of encourage people to like think about what they're doing. Because that's the thing, is like, if you're really intentional about your stash and your hobby, or whatever craft you do, it just opens up so many more possibilities, and I just think it's a much happier way to do it. There, you can just find so much more joy in doing it if you're doing it really intentionally and mindfully.
It also forced me to look at the projects I want to make, because like I have an endless queue on Ravelry.
Absolutely.
And not that I'm great at using Ravelry, but I'm trying to be better.
Projects.
I'm trying so hard. And like my favorite thing to do is scroll the Hot Right Now page.
Oh, absolutely.
And then just like add things.
Yeah.
So like this constant stuff, but then I've started like, I was inspired by one of our regulars to create a Trello board with every project I like, so I can look at it while I'm traveling. And so now if I'm buying yarn, I try to buy yarn for a project, and like a project I'm actually going to do, because I can,
something you actually want to have in your wardrobe.
Always knit a pair of socks.
Yeah.
But like, I don't even wear knit socks. My hot take is I don't wear knit socks. And
that's another episode.
Yeah, that's another episode. And it's not that deep. it is. I just don't.
No, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like that's
So like, am I just gonna
sometimes-
make a bunch of socks for other people? Like, probably not.
Yeah. And that's another good point though, is like sometimes what you like to knit is not what you like to wear.
Yeah.
And so I think if that's the case, you know, some people are like crazy gift knitters. Like we have a friend who knits socks for like everybody he knows.
Yeah. And
and-
then just uses the leftovers to donate things. Like he
Right, to make
rarely
things to
knits for
donate.
himself.
I know, he never knits for himself.
I don't understand.
But then there's people like me who like, if you want to knit a gift, find another knitter. It's not going to be
I'm trying to find a balance between the two. I realize, well,
I only knit for myself.
in doing this podcast and trying to figure out what I'm going to wear,
Yeah.
I realize I don't knit for myself
You
enough.
don't.
So that's the goal. 2025, knitting for myself.
Yes.
But I did just finish a pair of socks for somebody else. So
That's okay.
and a vest for somebody else. But it's
That's
fine.
okay.
It's all fine.
It's all fine. It's all fine.
Yeah.
That's the other thing though, is like, it's all fine. It's knitting. It's not, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, like it's not like
It's not that serious.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. It's really okay. But I do think it's important to just contemplate these things and think about them and discuss
Yeah.
them. And if you come away from this saying, you know, no, I disagree. I want to have a whole extra room in my house full of yarn that I will never use. Like, that's okay. That's
Yeah.
fine. As long as you've like determined that
Yeah.
through like an actual thought process, like great. Because I know a lot of people like to have, it's like your emotional support stash, right? You're
Yeah.
like, oh, I just need to, in case I need to cast something
Yeah.
on.
And it's pretty, like we've talked.
And,
we
and
said,
it's pretty.
like,
It brings
pretty.
you joy that you
Yeah.
can just collect it and like, yeah, put it on your shelves or whatever. Which, yeah, totally valid. And I have that. I'm a designer. I have to have a huge stash.
Yeah.
Not a huge stash, but I have to have, you know, stuff for my next couple projects.
Yeah.
Cause it's my job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think the most important thing that I really wanted to get at with my initial Instagram post was just to sort of inspire people to be more thoughtful about it.
Yeah.
And I think it worked.
I think it worked
'Cause
too,
people
yeah.
had thoughts. People
Yeah.
had thoughts. And some people were really on board immediately. People were commenting like, I totally agree. Like, I hate having a big stash, all this stuff. So, and then there were a few people who, you know, didn't really agree with me at first. And then some people came around and other people did not come around.
Yeah.
Which is also fine. We're all
It's whatever.
entitled
Yeah.
to our own opinions.
I think.
Oh, well, I was going to say the post I made right after that, though, was then also, I made a couple follow-up posts. One of them, back to what you were saying earlier, is about destashing.
Yeah.
Because that's also, that can be a really fun way to, like, interact with your community.
Yeah.
You can do a yarn swap with your friends. You can donate it to a local yarn shop. You can donate it to a secondhand shop. There's a lot of ways you can sell it too if you want to recoup some of the costs, if it's, you know, nice yarn.
You can donate it to us, and we have
you can donate to Boston Fiber Company.
Not to promote us. We have a $5 donation section, so it's all donated yarn of like any type. We've had like, you know, we have like eyelash yarn from Michaels. And we've had like a sweater's quantity of La Bien-Aimée, like hand dyed, beautiful,
expensive
yarn. And we sell it all for $5. We donate, if we have enough money at the end of the month, we donate half of the proceeds, which we haven't had in a bit. But usually in the summer months, once it starts warming up and into the winter, we are able to donate half of the proceeds. So, and then everything else just kind of covers us stocking it. So that's also an option. And lots of places take donations. There's Make and Mend in Somerville.
Make and Mend, yeah, they do donations.
And they're donation only.
Yes, they're all secondhand art and craft supplies.
Yeah.
And they run completely on donations. And they're a great company.
Yeah.
And you probably have, wherever you are, you probably have somewhere you can donate locally. If not, you can always try to sell it online. You know, there's eBay, there's Etsy, there's even Instagram. I've seen people do de-stash sales. And that...
And like in your local knitting group, you're
yeah,
in the Boston Drunken Knitwits.
Yes, I run the Boston Drunken Knitwits, and we do a yarn swap every year just after the holidays. We did a big yarn swap, and it's supposed to be a swap, But I ended up just giving away a bunch of yarn. I didn't take any yarn for myself because I have too much. So, but then at the end, if there's anything left over, we give it to Make and Mend.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a good way to be with your community. And also, for me, I get a lot of joy out of knowing that the yarn is going to be used.
Yeah, well, and it's like
because it's such pretty yarn.
Yeah. Well, it's like I bought this yarn, you know, because I loved it, and like, I don't have a home for it, but somebody else will.
Yeah.
Which is just like a satisfying feeling.
It's great. And like I gave away a beautiful skein of Dragon Horde yarn at the Boston Drunken Knitwits swap. And then just this week, at our latest meeting, one of our members, Melissa, was knitting socks with that yarn.
That's so cool.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the yarn that I gave to the swap.
That's the goal.
Right, that's the goal. And she, you know, she loves it. And it's beautiful yarn. It's really lovely yarn. It's, you know, and now it's going to be a beautiful pair of socks.
I love that.
That are going to get, you know, shown off.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that for the yarn. I love that for her. I love
that.
I love that for
really
me.
nice.
Like I just love it. So, I think destashing is also a very joyful activity. It's also very freeing because
it's just
once you let that all go, it's not just like the physical space of like, oh, well, I have more room on my shelves now. It's also the like mental, like, it's like, okay, I don't have to like feel guilty for not knitting with that.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, and then it's like also if you're shopping for yarn, you aren't like, well, I have this giant stash at home that I don't know what to do with. Why am I buying something else? You can be like, okay, now I'm buying with intention.
Right. I can buy the right thing for this project rather than settling for something that wasn't right. Yeah. I agree. I
was also going to say, like, on a cost effective way, not having a giant stash is cheaper. And I think like we talk a lot about like people buying inexpensive yarn, and it's really hard. Like owning a yarn store, we are, other than some nylon, we're 100% like natural fibers,
which are not cheap.
Like we have yarn that's $60 a skein, and then we have sometimes, you know, we have less expensive yarn, but it's still like on the expensive end. But if you're not going to Michael's and spending like $100 on 10 skeins of acrylic yarn to add to your stash, you can come to a local yarn store and spend $100 on like 3 skeins of yarn, really nice yarn, and like 3 skeins of fingering weight is a sweater or tank top.
Yes,
in a variety of size ranges.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. Yeah, it's kind of a quality over quantity kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that was initially what I was inspired by to make my my original post. I was inspired by seeing all those hauls of people going to Michael's or Joann, those big box stores, and just buying, you know, cartfuls of acrylic, and you know, it's just gonna sit in your closet. There's no way you can knit with all of that yarn, and because, you know, and people do this regularly, like they're doing this every couple of months, and I was like, you're not going to work with all of that unless you are. And that's the other thing, if you're like a really quick and if you're making things to donate, or if you run a business and you're making things to sell, this obviously like doesn't apply. If you use the yarn, this doesn't apply. But I was seeing people like buying all this yarn and then just having like a whole room, like floor to ceiling with all this yarn, and I was like, you're never going to use that. Why are you doing that? When, if you took that same amount of money and go to your local yarn store or a local farm or your favorite indie dyer online, you can get, you know, even a couple of sweaters quantities even, of really, really nice, high quality yarn, and you're supporting an independent business. You're supporting, a person rather than a corporation. Which is something that I think we are both big believers in. So that's just something to consider as well. Like if you have the money to drop on those giant yarn hauls at a big box store, maybe think about if you really need all of that, and if you could instead buy some more expensive, but much higher quality yarn.
And even then, like we carry yarn, like we have yarn that's 100% wool. It's maybe not like the most like environmentally friendly practice, right? There are maybe not like companies that are trying to like, we have yarn that's from companies that are like giving back to the land, working with local sheep, but we also have like yarn that's made out of wool from like Peru that is a little bit less expensive, just because of the nature of like how it's made and what it feels like.
And because it is from a bigger company.
Yeah. So you're able
scale.
to shop. You could stretch your money further.
You can
than you
still,
even
yes,
think.
Yeah. You absolutely could get a sweater's quantity of natural fibers from a local shop like Boston Fiber Company without dropping $100.
Yeah.
It's definitely possible. It just you gotta either know what you're looking for or talk to the people who are working there.
Yeah.
And they can point you to the right thing and help you figure it out, which is really, and that's a great way to build community as well.
Yeah. And I've seen but I've seen quite a few like designers put in their patterns, and I think you do this too, like a scale of yarn, like the less expensive version to the most expensive version, or like whatever, you know, maybe I'm working like, this is brushed cashmere. You don't have
pricey.
This is pricey. This was expensive.
Yeah.
And it was an impulse buy, but it worked out. Yeah. And because I went to
impulse buys
I went to
always
Skane in Rhode Island, and they also have a podcast, so shout out. Friends of the pod, I guess. They don't know it, but we do.
Oh, sure.
And I just had such a good time. I spent like $200 and it was so nice.
Yeah.
So like sometimes that happens, but I found a home for it.
But that's okay.
So this you could make out of 3 skeins of $40 skein yarn, or you could make it out of like 3 skeins of $11 skein yarn and still have a natural fiber.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like to, in my patterns, if it's not sponsored by a yarn company, because if it's sponsored by a yarn company, obviously I recommend that yarn. Yeah. But no, for
recommend your yarn. But also,
but for most of my patterns, I will have, you know, whatever I used for the sample, obviously I'll tell you that. But then I like to ask what my testers have used and get some ideas from them, and then also go on yarnsub.com and find alternatives. And I like to have sort of a range from, you know, really, really nice, fancy, expensive yarn. Yeah. But I also like to have a more affordable option. And I do also like to do a range of fibers, although that can get a little tricky because I obviously design the sweater for a specific fiber. Like this is for the unspun. And you did it in something else. Yeah, I did it in a superwash merino, our bulky base, bulky. Shout out to Walt, my cat. Shout out to Walter.
And so
I think it worked, but I think it was very different.
It was very different.
It was very heavy.
It's a lot heavier. I actually am planning on making it again because it was a really fun pattern and like easy, and it went really fast.
It's very fast. It's
and I'm planning on making it again. I'm still going to use I'm using Upland Fibers worsted weight. They do all local sheep, and then the yarn is like mill dyed. So it just comes in these like great solid colors. And so I have some, and I think I'm going to hold it with like a Surrey in gray, just to like give it some buzz. But I'll do that one. I think will be much lighter
weight. Yeah.
Than the other one is really heavy. Like you don't need a coat if you wear the other one.
Yeah.
Like
mine is like very,
it's very warm.
And it's I like having my lightweight. I don't love a super heavy sweater. And that's another thing to like consider when buying yarn is like, will you actually wear that? Yeah. Because like I don't buy bulky yarns anymore because I'm like, I just know that I won't wear it.
Yeah, same. Well, and I also like my eyes, like, this is a bad example because I'm wearing purple right now, but like my eyes really like bright pink. Like I love to look at neons. Yeah. But like in reality, I don't
wear them.
I don't wear them. Like this is the most colorful. Yeah. Like I wear a lot of black,
which
and
is
brown
crazy
and gray.
If you've been into the store.
Yeah, the store is pink.
The store is hot pink.
Because it's just what I like looking at.
And it's beautiful. Yeah. It's so colorful and fun. But yeah, it's not
it's actually not how I dress at all.
Which that's another thing is like I think there's something to be said for finding a balance between if you are knitting for yourself, you know, knitting things that you will actually wear and knitting things that are just like bringing you joy as you're knitting them. Yeah. Because I think that can be a hard balance to strike. I personally am a product knitter, not a process knitter. So I knit for the final object. I want the finished sweater, and I wear a lot of neutrals, which is so, you know,
I think my problem is that I am a process knitter.
Right.
Which
you enjoy knitting.
I like knitting, but then like I said, like I have to build up my knit wardrobe because like I just make things like I make a lot of baby hats and little socks, and then like I'm not wearing baby hats. I'm not wearing the socks that I make. Yeah. Or like the little baby sweaters.
Well, there is a baby.
There is a baby. But I've been making baby sweaters for friends since they started having babies.
Right.
So
there's always a baby, though.
There's always a baby, and they're so cute, and they're so little, and the knits are nice. But then it's like I have like 3 sweaters that I wear on rotation. Right. And so...
But I think you can find a balance. If you want to knit with crazy fun colors, that stuff you would never
Which is what I knit for babies.
Yeah, find a baby, find a dog or a cat who wants to wear a sweater. Or donate it. People love, other people... Just because you don't wear it doesn't mean it's bad. Like, other people enjoy.
And lots of people accept donations of knitwear,
especially
right
now in the Northeast.
Yeah. And like hats and socks, we are donating. Well, I'm way behind on this, but we did a knitwear drive for Haley House, which is a local organization that works with unhoused people, and they have like a closet that you can shop. Yeah. And so I haven't sent in the donation yet, but the plan is to do that this week. It's like in the neighborhood. I just have to drive it over.
It's on the agenda.
But we have like handmade sweaters, and we had people donate like their coats and like packs of underwear and packs of socks, and like, so you can make a sweater, decide you don't like it, and then find a new home for it.
You can definitely
it'll be appreciated and loved and warm.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You'll be keeping somebody warm, which is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. There's lots of options for using things that you don't necessarily want to use yourself.
Yeah.
And using up.
Well, there's also Knit the Rainbow.
Knit the Rainbow is a great organization. And you can mail in your stuff to them, I believe.
Sorry, I'm noticing that I made a mistake.
Uh-oh. That's the trouble of knitting while podcasting.
It's fine. We're not going to worry about it.
Nobody's going to see it.
Nobody's going to see it.
Only you and all of our viewers know about it. So
if you ever see me wearing this is for me. I should say that too. Like, I'm knitting for me. This is my plan. I just finished a present.
They're finally doing something for themselves.
Doing something for myself.
Yeah, well, good. And that is more your colors.
Yeah, this is like the brown is much more my colors.
I do love that colorway, that Salem colorway. It's really pretty.
I also think I don't know if you can tell in the video, it looks a little camo-y, which I really like.
Yeah, the way it's working up is kind of camo.
And so I'm excited.
Cool.
I am honestly planning to wear it with the brown skirt that I'm wearing now.
Yeah,
or my black skirt. Who knows?
It'll look good.
One of my skirts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like we've had a pretty good discussion about our hot take.
I do too. This was fun.
Is there anything else you want to add? I'm trying to think if I have any other thoughts.
I don't really know. I mean, I do probably, as always.
I always follow up.
Yeah. But like, we would love to hear your thoughts.
We really want to hear what you think about this topic.
Yeah, like you can be like,
even if you disagree, please let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Nice. Be nice, but
I mean, if you're mean,
if you're mean, you might get blocked. But you know, we do love a discussion.
I would love to say that I'd be mean back, but honestly, I won't be.
Sarah is way too nice. When we decided to do this podcast, I was going to be the mean one, and you were going to be the nice.
You're the bad cop.
I'm the bad cop.
I mean, now feel bad.
But
this is an anti-cop.
This is an anti-cop.
You can cut this out.
This is an anti-cop podcast, and I don't think I will cut that out.
Don't cut it out. ACAB, baby.
ACAB, sorry. Not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
But yes, we do want to know your opinions. You can leave a comment on YouTube. You can email us at hotcakescraftpod@gmail.com.
Yeah. We'll put it in the notes.
Yes, we'll
like
put
the
it
description and
where you can find us.
Sign up for our newsletters.
Sign up for the newsletters.
Both of ours, and we'll also put this info.
Yes, there's a Boston Fiber Company newsletter that goes out once a week.
Yeah.
And there's
in theory, once a week.
In theory, once. It usually actually does.
It does. I've been behind, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
There's a Juliette Pécaut Designs newsletter that also goes out once a week, starting today.
Nice. Yeah.
Today actually, we recorded. I just sent out my first.
We're gonna have one go out on.
Finally.
One will go out usually Sunday evenings.
Yeah.
They go out.
Yes. So yeah, we both have our
so you know
weekly
what's up.
newsletters. So you can follow along, and I'll talk about the podcast, of course, in our newsletters. But then also you can subscribe. You can like and subscribe on YouTube and on whatever you are listening on. If you are listening, just know that there's also a video aspect to this. So if you want to see what we're wearing, see what we're knitting, see the beautiful shop, you can check us out on YouTube for that as well.
Well, I guess we should say too, like, do you have anything coming up? When is this posting?
This is posting, I believe, in early March. I want to say the 7th of March.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I will have a bunch of test knits coming in the next couple of weeks. I will have a couple of tank tops for summer.
I'll do a tank top.
It's the mohair that you gave me.
Oh, nice.
Is one of the tank tops.
My plug for Jules' test knits is that I'm a really, really bad test knitter. I have no follow through, but you are really easy to test knit for.
That's okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I try to be very chill about it because
very chill.
It's not. I think some knitters can get some designers can get kind of really intense about it. But for me, I'm like, I'm giving you a free pattern, but you're giving me hours of free labor. So I'm not gonna put any restrictions on it.
And there was plenty. I did not finish it in time, but there was plenty of time to finish it if I had started it earlier, and also it happened during the holidays.
That was bad timing on my part. It was
neither of us
test during the holidays.
Neither of us could work. Neither of us knew what was going on.
It was awful.
Yeah,
we were having a bad time. But
yeah. But it got done.
It got done, and you took beautiful photos of your sister wearing it, which was great.
It was a gift. Once again, a gift knit. But now I'm making it for myself. I just knew that I wasn't gonna wear a giant white sweater.
It was very pastel colored. It was light colored. Yeah. So keep
it was the BFC colorway, not to plug myself
it's
again.
Very, very beautiful.
But honestly,
colorway.
Yeah, and Honey and Quill dyes it.
Yeah.
Friend of the pod.
So I'll have a bunch of test knits coming out. I will have some new naturally dyed kits coming out.
Nice.
Which is fun. I have some I do a little bit of natural dyeing in addition to my design work, and then I pair that with my patterns to create little kits. So I'll have some sock kits, I'll have some Versailles scarf kits.
Nice.
And I'm teaching classes here at Boston Fiber Company.
You have a sock class.
I have a sock class. I think I have another brioche class. If you've ever wanted to learn brioche and you're local to Boston, come on down for that.
And if you've never knit before, Jules teaches our Learn to Knit class.
I teach the Learn to Knit.
I'm guessing if you're watching a knitting podcast,
you probably already knit. But you might be a crocheter or another yarn crafter. So if you want to learn how to knit, actually, if you want to learn any yarn craft, you could probably do it here at BSC.
We do have lots of crochet.
I just won't be teaching. I won't be teaching the crochet ones or the spinning ones or anything like that. But what do you have coming up?
I mean, I would say there's always classes. Jules teaches some of them. We have lots of teachers. I have moved on from, I don't schedule the classes anymore, so I don't know what they are off the top of my head. But I do know we have a visible mending class coming up. We're doing embroidery. Embroidery will probably be done. I think that's before this will get posted, but we're going to be doing more other things. It's not just knitting and crochet. We're trying to get a perfume making class going.
Ooh.
Which would be really fun with a local perfumier. I don't know what they're...
I don't know. Yeah.
What do you call a perfumer? Perfumer person?
Lovely.
And what else do we have? Yeah, we do felting classes.
Every week there's coffee and crafts on Sundays.
Yes, 1 to 4 every Sunday. It's totally free. You just come hang out. There is a subscription program, so if you'd like to throw us $5 a month just to cover costs of keeping coffee in the store and snacks. But also we encourage everyone, you can bring whatever yarn you want. It doesn't have to be yarn you bought here. And we also encourage people to bring snacks themselves. Lots of people bake things. It's a really fun community. We met through Sip and Stitch, which is our Friday night.
The Friday night version.
And that's every second and fourth Friday. It's not every week.
That's how
I've literally made
now
friends.
We're really good friends.
Yeah.
And, business partners, basically. Yeah.
So it's really nice. I have developed a nice friend group
Oh,
through
absolutely.
it.
It's a great community.
It's a really good community.
So if you're in the Boston area,
yeah,
do come to that.
And like a very welcoming to new people community. It doesn't it's like,
it's not cliquey.
Yeah. I would say there are like core people who come to everything and they're very close friends, but then like there's lots and lots of new people every time, so you don't feel left out.
Yeah. It's very easy to talk to people too, because we want to know what you're making.
Yeah. And we usually do
like
like a silly little, we'll do you do your name, you do what you're working on, and then we'll always do like a silly little question. So we did a couple weeks ago, we did, do you think you're a good candidate for alien abduction? Which was a really fun one.
Oh, I missed that.
That was a good one. Sometimes we do, if we don't have as
so.
many people, we do what you're reading, watching, or listening to.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
But that one usually creates huge discussions, so you can't do a big group.
No, because then we want to talk about our favorite books.
Sometimes
and
the
shows.
group is big. That's it for plugging. Okay. But yeah, we want your hot takes.
We want your hot takes. Send us your hot takes.
Send us your hot takes of any variety. We'd love to see them. And are we going to do an Instagram? Should we have an Instagram? No.
If you want to, you have to run it.
Want to run it. If anybody thinks we should have an Instagram, let me know and then I'll do it. But
if you want an Instagram,
we'll make it happen.
We'll make it for you. But
for you.
But my hot take is I hate Instagram.
Yeah.
I do. There is something to be said for it. It is a nice community, but for me, having one Instagram is like enough.
It's so much work.
It's enough work for me for now. So if you want to, you can follow Boston Fiber Company. You can follow Juliette Pécaut Designs on Instagram. But if you really want to know about the pod specifically, you got to subscribe to the pod. So then the last thing we're gonna do before we head out is, what is your hot take to end us on? So we're going to try to end every episode, we'll see how long this lasts, with a silly hot take. Silly hot takes.
So nothing
low stakes, not fiber related, because those are for the big discussion. So my silly hot take is that people who try to get on the train before letting people off the train should be banned from public transit.
That's a good one.
Specifically at Boylston Station in Boston. What's your silly hot take?
I think my silly hot take, this is like a gross bathroom one. My silly hot take is, in a public restroom, so like we have a shared bathroom in here, if you leave the toilet seat up, that is a hate crime. That is evil.
No.
You just have to think about the person coming in after you has to touch that toilet seat, which is gross. So that is my hot take. You should be sent to Trash Island, like, go away.
You should be banned from public toilets.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for watching. And we will see you next month with a brand new hot take. Sarah's going to bring the hot take next time.
Yeah, I am. Let's see what it's going to be. See you next month.
Bye.
Bye.